use table 1 to find the answer, use table 1. Okay, it's not lying to you. Find table 1 and go from there. Sometimes the intro to passages will have a short few sentences at the very beginning. Read those. There could be some little pieces of gold in that you might need for a question. And then trust to what it says, okay? Don't try to reason out anything. Find your answer and go on, okay? You can have different approaches to these. Skip the whole passage, go straight to questions. That's my take. Some of you all would rather skim than go. That's fine too. And some of you want to read the whole passage. I don't necessarily advise that, especially on the data representation part. There are 40 questions. You have 6 passages, so you have roughly 6 to 7 minutes on each passage. So you don't have a whole lot of time to waste on these. Another thing is markup, and this makes it difficult because you've only taken it online. I say mark up your passage. That's a little bit difficult, but you do have scratch paper. So jot down what you can about each. Like if you're talking experiment 1, experiment 2, kind of jot down what you know about that.
Is there not a highlight option on there?
I think there is. Is there a highlight option?
There was last time.
Okay, so there was like that. That would
I
help
think so,
you
but I'm
too.
not real good at using that.
I
I
don't know.
I wish it was on paper.
Something, yeah.
My advice is keep that scratch paper in front of you and just write notes to yourself.
Jot down, because when I did this, like I have to write on all this. And I do want to apologize, I forget this every single time. The sign, you all flipping back and forth makes this a little difficult. I would like for you all, let's practice a couple passages. We're not gonna do the whole entire thing. We don't have that time, but I do want us to do a research summary and a data representation. So if you all look at passage 1, don't even read it. Just look at the difference in passage 1 and passage 2. What do you notice?
More ESC.
Do what?
More charge.
Okay, so passage 2, you have a table 1, a table 2, and a figure 1. So you've got lots of figures. In passage 1, I don't have anything but reading. Okay? Now, passage 1, would I necessarily start reading the whole thing? Probably not. I'm going to jump to question 1. It says, according to scientists do, the friction between the rocks and clays reduced by which of the following. So what am I going to do in that?
Go to scientist.
I'm going to go to scientists too. Okay? So what I'm going to do is let's take, 7 minutes. Let's do one passage at a time. Let's go 7 minutes on passage 1. Okay? You ready? Go. Okay, this time on the first one. Another thing about science is I know it's the last one, and you all have already tested for right at 3 hours at this point. So it's hard to hold concentration. It was even hard for me last night working through these to hold my concentration at home, but you've got to dig and not let science be the one that gets you down because it's last. Okay? So question 1, according to science 2, friction between the rocks and clay is reduced by which of the following? Mud and algae. I saw most of you all had gotten that one right, so good. Question 2, we got wind speeds greater than 80 miles an hour to move the rocks. This observation is consistent with which of the scientists' explanations? 2 and 3. So you've got to figure out, you would have to read 1 and 2 and 3 on that one. 3, suppose no seismic activity was reported where the trails left by the rocks were found. This finding would weaken which one?
3.
Scientist 3, because it says the minor vertical shifts in the plates on scientist 3. Question 4. It was discovered that a particular rock formed a 200-meter long trail in 72 hours. Would this discovery support scientist 1 explanation? First, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Why?
2 days.
Because you can move a few hundred meters in a few days. Good job. Okay. Okay, question 5. Suppose that during 1 year there's no measurable movement in any rocks during the spring. Scientists 1 and 2 most likely both agree that this was due to the absence of what? Snow melt. Y'all doing good on this. Suppose that air temperature in the playa varies between 4 degrees Celsius and 47 degrees Celsius. Would this information support the explanation of scientists 2? Yes or no?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
The ice freezes at 0 degrees Celsius.
Ice cannot form.
It's
Ice cannot form at that temperature. So yeah, on that one. Okay, number 7, a little math involved. Based on scientist one's explanation, the rock trail that is 33 centimeters wide is most likely made by a rock with approximately what width?
Cause it's 2/3.
Yeah, 2/3.
2/3,
Oh,
because
33.
scientist one says, and only about 2/3 as wide as the rocks themselves, so it's actually 50.
Yeah.
Can you do that math in your head?
No.
Even Athens
Well,
only
no.
wrong. Because scientist one says evidence of this lifting is seen in the trails left by rocks most shallow, 2/3 is wide. What? We're actually saying
Oh.
2/3 of what is 33? Oh, yeah, yes. And that answer's there, I promise. So you're actually saying 2/3 of what is 33? Right? All right, let's try a data representation. And let's do this one. Rough for me, and I don't think it's where I was looking at, I can pull up what it was on this, or I can come through or something. But let's look at passage 2, the data representation, so you're gonna use figure 1, experiment 1, table 1, experiment 2, table 2. Now remember, trust the question, if it says use figure 1, use figure 1, right? Ready? Go. Time's up on that. You don't think on that first data representation one, easy or hard? Okay, question 8. What are we even doing? We're transferring stuff, something, right? Substances. Another trial had been performed in experiment 2, and 450 milliliters of liquid had been measured. The temperature of the dicola would have most likely been what?
J.
J. J. Why? Tell me why.
476, which is greater than 60.
Correct. As the milliliter goes down, the temperature comes up, right? Okay, question 9. Suppose trial 6 had been repeated, but the bottle had been opened and left undisturbed at 25 degrees Celsius for 12 hours before it was attached to the apparatus. Would the mass of CO2 produced likely be greater or less than? Less, because why? So C or D?
C.
C, good. Number 10, I'm here to tell you all, I had to leave that blank and come back to it this morning, and then it just hit me. I was like, what was wrong with you last night? Number 10 was probably the easiest question on here, and I made it so difficult. Did anybody else do that, or did you all just see it automatically? I couldn't see it. 1 millimole of CO2 has that mass. How many trials resulted in the production of at least one of those?
4.
All of them.
I got 8.
Because okay, and this is what hit me this morning. I was like, are you an idiot or what? Because I couldn't, because some of y'all that missed it done the same thing I did. Like, I looked at this so much, like, I was like, forget it. I'm gonna have new eyes this morning and look at this one. So if you look at trials 1 through 4 on experiment 1, what is the mass of all the CO2 produced? It's above that, so that's 4 of them, right? So if we look from 5 through 8, what is the mass? It's above the 0.044. Like, that completely went over top of my head last night until this morning. I was like, Anyway. So, anyway, the answer is J8. I could not see that for the life of me. Okay, question 11. According to figure 1, which tube, A or B, if either had at least one end submerged in a liquid before the clamp was removed? Tube B. 12 is the relationship between the volume of the liquid at the end of the experiment and the mass of CO2 a direct or inverse relationship? Direct. So F or G? F, because the measure, let's say the volume increased and the CO2 produced increased. Okay, 13, consider the steps according to the procedure. What order did those happen in? B, 3, 4, 1, 2. So, yeah, that would have required you all to read that first paragraph, right? Or the second paragraph. Okay, 14. Assume that room temperature is 25 degrees Celsius, and how many trials did the Diet Cola tested at temperature lower than the room temperature? 5.
How do you, what? How do you not
I'll have to go back and look at that. I'm telling you, I tripped up on question 10 for so long. I didn't-
says lower than.
Yeah, this whole trial, that's Bob trial.
I didn't even see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
man.
yeah, that's it.
And then this one's down here.
Hey, y'all wanna do another science one, or y'all wanna switch?
To the math.
I don't think that.
Do math? Do math?
I already got 39.
Honestly, I think, whatever you do, I very much want to do. Do whatever you want to do.
Where did we get to yesterday? Y'all remember where we got to yesterday?
So if we make a worse score on the ACT this time, do we keep our best score?
Why do you think this one's gonna be so bad?
I don't, I'm just saying, I think.
I just got a pretty good score. I just don't want to take it again. I got
Therapy.
one I need to get. I'm
I
done.
need to redo it. This is-
Now, you all took it the last time here online, so you're used to that already, correct?
I told Jeff Sam how we agree.
Read the whole thing.
Okay, what question did I get to yesterday? Or whatever, day before yesterday?
Then we never do it.
Okay, so we done 27. I remember talking about 27, right?
We were trying to work through some of them yesterday, but everybody got to different places.
Yeah, we get with them.
I got like
27. We didn't read it with.
But I'm saying we
So
started.
it was the day before yesterday, right?
All festival day.
Okay, 28. I want to know who got 105 for 28 and tell me how you did it. Because there's 49 different ways to do 28.
Math,
I got 140.
Okay, and then what?
I guess.
Did that work? Get 105?
That's
Oh, I got
104.
So tell me again.
Yeah, I got 105 too.
Length times width times height and then divided by 2.
That's the easiest route.
I counted what I saw.
I looked at it, said that's about 200 something, or about half of the weight, and then get that on
So
there.
that one you can either spend time counting or do the volume and divide by 2 is the easiest route on that one. So it should be H 105 on it. Okay, 20, did you all do these? Y'all get to this
Yeah.
point?
I gave them time yesterday.
Okay, so they have, okay, good deal. So 29, I'm having to review myself this minute. Okay, so we have a square that has a length of 12 meters. So if I have a square and I know that the length is 12 meters, what do I know about the width?
12.
It's 12, so I've got a 12 by 12 square. And a rectangle whose area is equal to the area of the square has a width of 8 meters. So I have a rectangle, 8. But it says, what else do I need to know that didn't give me? The length of the rectangle, there's something else I need to know.
The area of the square.
The area of the square. So what's my area of the square?
144.
Lord have mercy, how did it 48?
You got it all up the side, you got the perimeter. Oh, so the area. Okay, so I have to know it, they're equal. My two areas are equal, so the area here has to be 144, and it's looking for the length.
18.
So
Divide 144 by 8 and get 18.
I didn't do that. 16, I guess.
So like,
I guess.
We're guessing the same answer.
Guessing.
We are guessing because they don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, number 30. This kind of goes with you all averaging your grades and trying to figure out what you need on a test and what have you.
I do that.
So the average list of 4 numbers is 92. The new list of 4 numbers has the same first 3 numbers as the original, but the 4th number in the original list is 40. And the 4th number in the new list is 48. What is the average of the new list? What happened between 40 and 48?
Went up.
It went up. So what else? Well, add 8, right? But I know to get an average, what do I have to do to those numbers?
Divide 'em.
But add first, right?
Oh, yeah, you gotta add them.
Well, right, so if I had an average of 92, that's the same as saying 92 times 4 to get my addition correct, right? So that's 368 for the first original numbers. But we know we went from 40 to 48, so we improved 8 points on that test. So I'm going to add 8 to that sum and get 376 and divide that by 4 and get your 94 average. But do you all understand why this I multiply by 4?
Yes. Because it's 4 days.
There's 4 different original numbers,
It's
right?
tricky sometimes, and when you do it, it's like, oh, that is the easiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's
But
so
my brain doesn't
So
understand.
when I read that, I was like,
That was my only science last night. Like, I had to sleep on that question and figure this morning. It was like, okay. The 8, where did I get the 8 from? That original number went from 40 to 48. So that's an additional 8 points or whatever you want to call it, talking about test grade. Okay, 31. I promise you all, we never talk about vectors out here unless you get to college algebra or something along those lines. Or you take calculus or something.
So guess.
No,
It sure is.
Because, not necessarily you don't know what a vector is, but that doesn't mean you can't get it wrong.
What about educated?
I think that's
Educated guess,
Wait,
okay.
can you explain it? What's the correct answer, just so we can see if we get it right?
-12, Jay.
I got positive 12.
Yeah.
But okay, educated guess versus you all read the question is what it is. Okay, it says a vector I represents 1 mile per hour east and J represents 1 mile per hour north. She's jogging south at 12 miles an hour. One of the following vectors represents Maria's velocity in miles per hour. Okay, so we go, never eat soggy waffles. This way,
You know it's gonna be Jay.
right? Yep. Vector I. Then I go north. J.
Okay.
Correct? So we're here. She goes south.
Is it that easy?
It is that easy.
Then it's a negative because she goes
She
down.
goes south.
And that's why it's down.
That's
because
it.
it's up and
You don't have to
down.
know anything about vectors.
Wow.
Nothing. See? See? I got all these.
Well, apparently she went north for me.
There's a very big difference between an educated guess and a random guess.
Right.
So educated guessing is okay.
Yes, I guess we'll take educated guess.
I knew it was.
Okay, 32. 4 identical glasses. One glass is empty, the other 3 are full, half full, 4 fifths full. If the water is redistributed equally, what fractional part of the glass will be filled?
Okay.
Okay.
Is it actually?
What?
Is it actually okay?
It is actually okay.
Hey, I worked that one out.
It's K. I did that.
Wait, how did we get that?
I'll put it in the calculator.
You added them all up, so a 4 1/2
And divided it.
and 4 fifths, whatever that is a fraction. I got 31 over 20 because I didn't have a calculator. And then what'd you do there? Because there are 4 glasses, so divide that by 4, 31 over 8. Number 33, y'all are getting close to where this part is going to be real for some of you all. We're getting carpet tiles. It's 8 1/3 feet wide by 10 feet long. Each carpet tile is 20 inches by 20 inches, the minimum number of tiles.
84, let me make it.
You got too many.
11.
Ooh, okay.
I
Let's work on this one.
tried to work it out.
I marked it.
I actually wrote stuff on this. I tried.
I tried, but why would I?
Oh, yeah, that's what.
Oh, yeah.
I need to.
First thing I did was convert the inches.
That's exactly what you need to do.
See, that's what I did.
I started that.
So, here, that's 120, right?
Yeah.
The other one's 32.
Is it 32?
Yeah.
Hey, so let's think about,
There's 12 inches in a foot, right?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yep. I'll write that down after that.
then what'd you do?
Right.
I forgot.
Do you do 32? I'm guessing. I got stuff on the screen.
You do 12 by 12.
You call.
What?
You
I mean, you do 20 and make another one for 20 and 20. About it.
Yeah, I drew that.
Okay.
Hey, I'll do that little box.
And then I did 32 times 120. Maybe.
You just said area?
Oh.
I did something.
You just said, oh, yeah, this one I guess.
I got numbers wrote down.
It's D.
Oh, I'm so good at.
I put 8 to 30 feet wide, 30 feet.
I don't know.
She's like, wait, I got it right.
Do that one.
Yeah, that's 100 to 100 inches.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's not right.
I don't know how
I
to
I
do
don't know.
That's why I was messed up.
And I put 99.6 on that, so I'm supposed to do.
Okay, but here's the easiest route. 20 by 20. How many 20s will go into that?
Yeah, that's what I did. 5.
5,
Oh, where there's
How many 20s will go into that? 5 times 6.
30.
Oh.
30. Yeah.
30. I got 30. I circled those.
Okay, 34 is one of those type of formulas that's on that formula sheet that, depending on what math teacher or what grade level you had, what is, whether or not we talk about circles. Do you all know the equation of a circle?
R squared.
Well, that's the area. The equation of a circle. I think it's H. I always get those confused.
All I know is the R's have to do the diameter.
Burn that in your brain somewhere.
That's not.
H and K is the center of the circle. What would R represent? Radius. So H and K, H comma K is your center. And R is your radius. I'm gonna run out of time. It says the circle has a center of 8, 5, and a radius of 9. So looking down through there, the easiest part, R squared is what?
Oh.
R squared is what? 9 squared, 81. So I can automatically get rid of G and J. If that's all you know, you've got rid of 2 answers. Okay? Then my center is 8, 5, but it has a minus in there. So X minus 8 squared plus Y minus 5 squared equals 81.
F.
F.
I was close.
I knew it was X minus and Y minus, but I didn't know the square.
So, wait.
Yeah, because 81 is not.
Basically, what you're saying is, on the math, if we have different and a whole lot of formulas, we can do it.
Okay. I don't necessarily say common sense, but go at it logically.
But it's a whole lot of, this is what formula she did in about 2 seconds, but you wouldn't know that formula, we've been here for another 30 years.
Smart like that.
Well, I'm not, so this is why my math.
I'm gonna skip because 35 through 38 was take us too long. When we
Just
skip
know
over
the
it.
answer.
What
Just know the
answers?
answer.
Okay, E. 35 is E. 36 is J. 37 is C. 38 is F.
Do you have any strategies just if you don't know?
Makes
He
makes
got that either.
It's really just